Introduction. Many people believe that Zarathustra, the character in Nietzsche's thought-provoking Zarathustra, is fictional. However, it is important to know that Nietzsche was well aware of the history and philosophy of this great ancient Persian and Indo-European prophet. In his personal notes, Nietzsche expressed great respect for him. He had a deeper connection with Zarathustra than just seeing him as a fictional character of his own creation. By naming his book after Zarathustra, he honored the prophet while also using him to share his own philosophy. In doing so, he made Zarathustra an important part of his philosophy. Zarathustra's teaching offered deep wisdom for those who seek to understand themselves and the world. He expressed his connection with the prophet, saying, "Before Zarathustra there was no wisdom, no probing of the soul, no art of speech." Nietzsche was inspired to share this light and wisdom with humanity. Zarathustra lived about 5,000 years ago in Persia, modern-day Iran. His mission was to introduce a concept of God and religion that was different from the belief that dominated his time. He did not intend to entangle the human spirit with superstitious or robotic rituals. On the contrary, he dreamed to break the chains of ignorance that kept humanity imprisoned in unconsciousness and deception. His vision was fundamentally about inner growth and self-realization. Zarathustra didn't want people to follow him blindly. In contrast, he intended to empower individuals to actively increase their consciousness toward the divine consciousness. He challenged us to look at ourselves not as who we are, but as who we can become. His aim for humanity was for us to transcend to become higher conscious beings. And those higher human beings are hidden within us. We are like a ladder. We need to climb up the steps of our beings in order to reach the treasure of our full consciousness. Then, we are not human anymore. We become closer to God, Ahura Mazda, the ultimate consciousness, the supreme wisdom. Zarathustra philosophy eventually established Zoroastrianism as the dominant religion in Persia. It remained the state religion of the empire until about the 7th century CE, when Muslims conquered Persia. Throughout history, Zarathustra's wisdom has a profound influence across various cultures and belief systems. It shaped the philosophical religious thought of ancient Greece with figures such as Pythagoras, Socrates, and Plato drawing inspiration from his teachings. Zarathustra's influence on Western culture can be seen in literature and philosophy, impacting figures like Dante, Voltaire, and Nietzsche. In the 19th century, European scholarships on Zoroastrianism grew. The French linguistic Anquetil Toparan translated the Gata, Zarathustra's sublime songs, into modern language in the late 18th century. This made Zarathustra's wisdom and philosophy available for the first time in centuries. This translation made him an important figure and pioneer in understanding of ancient religions. Nietzsche, as a scholar of ancient languages, studied Greek and Latin texts that mention Zarathustra. The ancient Greeks and Romans admire Zoroaster or Zarathustra as a wise figure. Philosophers like Herodotus, Plato, and Pliny wrote about Zarathustra's mystical and religious ideas, which luckily influenced Nietzsche's thinking. Nietzsche saw Zarathustra as an awakened person who challenged traditional beliefs and questioned established values. Zarathustra's approach aligned with Nietzsche's own philosophy. Similarly, he also questioned societal norms and the herd mentality. Just as Nietzsche criticized the domain religious of his time, Zarathustra confronted the hypocrisy of the priest during his time. Both figures aim to inspire individuals to think for themselves and seek deeper truths beyond societal approval. Nietzsche viewed his Zarathustra as someone who could challenge traditional morality and values in pursuit of higher purpose. Nietzsche's sister, Elisabeth Forster Nietzsche, wrote a lot about her brother's life and works, including Thus Spoke Zarathustra. In her introductions and commentaries, she shares her thoughts on Nietzsche's deep interest in the ancient Persian prophet Zarathustra or Zoroaster. She stated that Nietzsche saw Zarathustra as a transformative figure in human history. Elizabeth said that her brother was fascinated by Zarathustra's teachings and his important role in shaping morality, which influenced many religious and ethical systems. She stated that my brother had the figure of Zarathustra in his mind from a very early age. He once told me that even as a child, he dreamt of him. At different times in his life, he referred to this figure by various names. In the end, however, he honored the Persian heritage by identifying him with his creature of my imagination. The Persians were the first to take a broad and comprehensive view of history. According to them, every series of evolutions was guided by a prophet, and each prophet had his own Hazar, a dynasty lasting 1,000 years. All of Zarathustra's idea, as well as his personality, were early concepts in my brother's mind. Written Thus Spoke Zarathustra was a deep and almost mystical experience for Nietzsche. He described it as a revelation that came to him with great power. He expressed it as something beyond just normal inspiration or thought. He felt as he were in a state of ecstasy, totally out of his control. He stated his experience while writing the book, saying, "During those moments when my creative energy flowed most plentifully, my muscular activity was always greatest. The body is inspired. Let us waive the question of soul. I often found myself dancing, able to walk for 7 or 8 hours without fatigue." He was inspired to write the wisdom of Zarathustra at those moments. Nietzsche described this state as a revelation. Thoughts, metaphors, and rhythms came to him in flashes. It felt as if Zarathustra had come to him, speaking through him with little effort. He said, "It was on those 2 roads that all Zarathustra came to me. Above all, Zarathustra himself, as a type, I ought rather to say that it was on these walks that he violated me, possessed me. Nietzsche's revelation and the force that he experienced were not only intellectual. They felt powerful, mystical, and almost supernatural, affecting his whole being. Whether supernatural or not, his experience was similar to a deep spiritual transformation. He described his inspiration, saying, "At the time, few understood true inspiration. Some saw themselves as mere vessels of a higher power. Revelation comes suddenly. With certainty, thoughts flash like lightning, inevitable and unchosen. In moments of ecstasy, one is swept away, both strong and vulnerable. Tears may flow, energy surges, and even sorrow deepens the joy. Everything occurs spontaneously, as if born from a divine wellspring." Zarathustra refers to this kind of intuition or inner voice, Surusha. It represents the divine voice emerging to us from Vahuman, good mind. Zarathustra advises us to follow the voice of the supreme wisdom, Ahura Mazda, and to follow Surusha, which is the voice of conscience. It's also known as the voice of intuition. Intuition means listening carefully to the voices of our spirit and heart in order to guide us toward the conscious path. In Zarathustra's teaching, Surusha acts as a channel through which divine truth becomes available to the individual. This process of tuning ourselves to the sacred inner source is similar to adjusting a radio in order to receive the clearest message from the main source. When one is attuned to Surusha, or voice of intuition, the individual becomes receptive to the guidance of conscience and with divine wisdom. As Zarathustra indicates in the Gatha, "Grant me, O Mazda, the strength and insight to fully grasp and follow the path of Asha through Surusha guiding presence. May I listen and discern with clarity, dedicating my mind and actions to uphold truth. Let Surusha dwell within me so that I may remain unwavering in my devotion to your teachings, aligning my life with your divine order." The Gatha. By listening to intuition Surusha, one connects with the divine. Surusha bridges the human and divine worlds, bringing clarity to the many voices within us, such as cultural, familiar, and societal influences that we carry through our lives. It guides us toward truth and wisdom, freeing us from harmful thoughts. In the Gatha, Surusha plays a key role, guiding Zarathustra to his revelation and inspiring his sacred verses. Similarly, Nietzsche's revelation came when he was overtaken by an inner voice, directing him to write "Thus spoke Zarathustra." It's unfortunate that Nietzsche's interpretation of Zarathustra has often been misunderstood and misused. "Thus spoke Zarathustra" was intended to challenge traditional values and encourage personal growth. However, some have twisted his ideas to support nihilism or other harmful beliefs, which was not Nietzsche's intent. Many of his deeper ideals have been lost or misrepresented, leading to interpretations that miss the true essence of his philosophy and Zarathustra's original teachings. Zarathustra's message emphasizes wisdom, responsibility, and moral clarity. These are important aspects for both personal and societal growth. This book aims to explore the ideas presented in Thus Spoke Zarathustra through the lens of the ancient teachings of the prophet Zarathustra and the rich culture of Persia. Nietzsche was deeply influenced by these teachings to explore his own philosophical concepts. Understanding the historical and cultural context is key to gaining a deeper understanding of both Zarathustra and Nietzsche within a more meaningful framework. By examining the spiritual and ethical dimensions of Zarathustra, we can gain a clearer understanding of how Nietzsche interpreted the ancient Persian spiritual view. This exploration will show how Zarathustra's teachings on wisdom, morality, and human potential connect with Nietzsche's philosophy. It will help readers understand his ideas and inspire those seeking wisdom and personal transformation. Zarathustra emphasizes the importance of consciousness, free will, and living by good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, which are essential for spiritual growth. He encourages us to connect with a higher purpose and make conscious choices that reflect wisdom and integrity. Zarathustra's message emphasizes that true freedom and growth come from expanding our awareness. It requires rising above our lower desires and connecting with the divine consciousness. Zarathustra's unique contribution is his strong call for individuals to take responsibility for their choices. He has encouraged humanity to actively shape their own lives and destiny. It's important to emphasize that this book is rooted in the esoteric teachings of Zarathustra, which were preserved and passed on by the Magi after his death. The Magi, the ancient priestly class, were spiritual leaders and guardians of Zarathustra's deeper wisdom. They were responsible for establishing the path of Mazda Yazda, meaning the followers of wisdom or the worshippers of wisdom. This tradition is different from the more formalized religious practices of Zoroastrianism, which later became the dominant religion of the Persian Empire for over 1,000 years. The focus of Mazda Yazda was not on ritual or dogma, but on cultivating inner wisdom, personal transformation, and conscious living. This book explores the inner meaning of Zarathustra's teachings, offering a profound exploration of how his guidance can help us expand our consciousness. Rather than focusing on external religious practices or the historical evolution of Zoroastrianism, this work seeks to unveil the spiritual essence of Zarathustra's message. The teachings within Mazda Yazda emphasize the importance of inner growth, self-awareness, and aligning ourselves with the divine principles of wisdom and truth principles. This approach closely aligns with Nietzsche's philosophy as presented in his book, Thus Spake Zarathustra.